presenting why to what now, how childhood curiosity prepares us to navigate conflict. Please welcome Andrea Prebys-Williams.
All right, raise your hand if you love talking about conflict. Anyone? Yeah? Raise your hand if you love experiments. All right, let's imagine that conflict is just a messy experiment that we get to do with other humans, okay? I have been so fortunate to get to do work that I really care about with people I love and respect, people fighting for racial and economic justice and for the planet, and yet I have seen the best work fall apart because of breakdowns in trust and conflict. So by show of hands, how many of you are parents? Let's see what we can learn from our kids about experimentation and curiosity. So researchers estimate that children ask 40,000 explanation-seeking questions by the age of 5. That is 40,000 moments of discovery, of wonder. I have a 5.5-year-old, and I have heard them all. Now, if we look at all of the types of questions beyond the explanation seeking, a new one is coming every 2.5 minutes. The parents know curiosity is the original scientific method. Observe, question, test, repeat, right? Now, when we're young, the brain is firing. That is a part of how we grow, those neural connections. Yet at some point, we rely more on what we think we know and less on what we wonder. As kids enter school, we see creativity and curiosity drop sharply off the cliff. So kids that were once bold explorers often become cautious, quiet, afraid of being wrong. Somewhere along the way, we stop rewarding exploration. Certainty becomes safer, and this shows up in our classrooms and it shows up in our organizations. Now, by the time we reach adulthood, it gets even worse. We go from hundreds of questions a day to barely a handful. So fountains of inquiry to a trickle, convinced that we've already got the answers, right? So this has ripple effects in so many other areas, right? In how we lead, in how we give feedback, how we assign credit, how we handle disagreement. The ripple effects reach out far beyond just that curiosity. Now, I see this happen often in my work. It is rarely the mission that fails. More often than not, it is the how of the work, how it's getting done, but more often than that, it is the who. And what I mean by that is the friction between colleagues, the tension that doesn't get addressed until it erupts. Even in purpose-driven organizations, really good work can get undone by conflict. So let's picture Sam and Joe, two colleagues working together on a research grant. Sam wants to chase an ambitious new question, right? Joe wants to stay in the current scope to protect the existing data. Tension starts to rise, trust erupts. Now, often in these times, it is to defend, to prove, to win, right? We react instead of reflect. It's like adding vinegar to baking soda. It bubbles, it spills over, and it makes a huge mess to clean up. But what if instead of reacting, we paused long enough to ask, what if I'm wrong? Imagine that. What assumptions am I making, and how do I want to be remembered here? Curiosity opens the space that defensiveness closes. So back to Sam and Joe, imagine they pause, they ask questions, they get curious, they experiment, they realign, and they try again. Simple habits that are good leadership practice. Right? Curiosity allows us to stay in relationship and stay connected as long as trust and respect are at the foundation. Those are necessary parts for it to work. So, the next time, not if, but when, tension rises, instead of why me, consider what might we learn together. That simple shift can open up discovery. Conflict is like an experiment or an art project. It is messy, it is sticky, it is unpredictable. Yet, it's how we learn, it's how we grow. Children continue to show us the way, and curiosity can be a practice that helps make us braver, stronger, more connected to each other and to the work that we love. Thank you so much.
Great job.